So, Revenue Forum is a non-profit initiative started by me in 2008. Currently, we organize webinars. We hold these on Thursdays on a regular basis, about every other month. We also have half-day seminars. We organize them in 12 cities and 10 countries. The coming seminars will be held in The Hague, Brussels and Amsterdam. It's from the 4th to the 6th of June, and I will give some more information about this at the end of the webinar. We also have whole day events, and this is a unique hybrid event held simultaneously online as well as physically in Stockholm, London and Milan. More cities to come. The coming event is set on the Thursday, the 30th of January of the next year, and it is the largest event for commercial hotel teams. And I will tell you more about this at the end of this webinar. The topic of this episode is attribute-based pricing, the future of pricing. And we chose this topic because it is sort of a buzzword within the hospitality industry. They hear quite a lot. Now, from a personalization point of view, it does make sense. Guests are able to pick and choose the room items they are interested in. But from a revenue management perspective, I'm not so sure. In order to optimize our inventory, we want to have some flexibility, and attribute-based pricing might limit us. Furthermore, I wonder if our current technology can handle it. On the other hand, if this means that we can increase revenue, it might be a good thing. In order to get to grips with this question, we have invited 3 of the greater minds and experts in pricing topics to show their insights and answer your questions. Our expert speaker consists of 3 speakers who each get 7 minutes to talk. We use a Pecho format for this, and that means that speakers will have prepared 20 slides, which will change automatically after 20 seconds. I've done a few, and I can say it's quite drastic. Now, being the organizer, let me start with introducing myself. My name is Annemarie Gubanski, and I am founder and CEO of Tacticom Consultancy, which is a consultancy offering revenue management and digital marketing outsourcing. With over 100 properties, we are one of the main revenue management consultancies in Europe, she said proudly. Furthermore, we offer a soft brand called Tacticom Hotels for independent hotels who want to remain independent together with us. Now over to our next speaker, and let's start with Pablo Delgado.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Pablo Delgado. I'm the CEO of a company called Mirai. We've been working with hotels for more than 25 years in Western Europe and now in America. I'm now in Mexico City. And what we do is we help hotels drive more direct bookings, competing with OTAs and making more, not revenue, but bottom line, right? Profit. This is what we do. I'm happy to be here with you.
Hello, my name is Carina Stegmayer. I'm one of the co-founders of GauVendi. GauVendi means Gaudium Venditio, comes from 2 Latin words and means the joy of selling. And we enable personalization for hospitality and hence also hopefully give a clear differentiator to increase direct bookings. Looking forward to the discussions afterwards.
Well, nice to meet you all. I'm Ricardo. I'm the director of pre-sales for BEONx, a revenue management system that is driving back into being a sustainable profit platform. And while this makes perfect sense for us to be here, trying to reach a good conclusion.
Well, good morning again, everyone. I'm actually not at least I don't consider myself an expert in pricing, but I've been working with hotels for a lot of time in this pretty much 30 years. What I found is that the hotels are, at the end of the day, people, not regular people running businesses, and they have a lot of things to do. And all these ABS and a lot of these buzzwords, and Marie says, they are pretty far from their day-to-day. And today I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to probably leave the discussion for Carina and Ricardo, so they can counter-argument me. So they are in the easy position speaking after me, but I'm happy for them to do so. So very open to the discussion, right? So let's see how it goes. This is my first time doing this format, Anne-Marie, so please a little patience. So let's start, Anne-Marie. All right, so from a customer perspective, ABS certainly sounds great. I mean, as a customer myself, I would love to choose everything when making a booking, right? So I don't have nothing to say negative about ABS from a customer, but from a hotel perspective, it's certainly different. The only good thing is that it might drive more revenue. But my concern or my argument, a strong argument, is the hotel industry ready? Hotels, as I said, are regular people running regular businesses, and ABS sounds like a very far technology or concept, right? So it sounds great, but how to move it to the day-to-day? First of all, in the first place, ABS, at least I haven't seen any business that implement hotel business implementing ABS and incrementing revenue. And I'm not talking about gross revenue, but net revenue. So you're making more money than you're spending. So it sounds great, but at least is it paper today for me. Typically, hotels are compared with airlines, but they are completely different businesses. A seat doesn't have a meal plan, doesn't have a length of a stay, doesn't have a cancellation rate. So they are completely different businesses, and they have extras or attributes that are at endless priority line, space for luggage. So they don't have inventory. But hotels are completely different businesses running by independent hotels, most, especially in Europe, where automation and operations are key. Salespeople tend to bring a lot of ideas to the table that operations say, hey, I mean, what the hell are you talking about? So who's going to do this, right? So if you don't do something automatically, it's not going to work. Even managing room inventory is challenging for many revenue managers. How you're going to manage attribute inventory? So you're going to have to count the pillows you have, the espresso machines you have, the high floor rooms that you have available. How are you going to do it? Who's going to do it? Many extras are external. So it's going to be a nightmare. Can you imagine doing a check-in and having an overbooking on espresso machines? So I did pay $25 for an espresso machine. I don't have one. Oh, I might just discount my check. So even overbooking rooms, it is a nightmare. Overbooking extras or attributes, it would be crazy. But not only inventory, but how about pricing? I mean, there are 6 variables for price from a pricing perspective: room, occupancy, cancellation policy, meal plan, booking window, length of stay. Are you going to do that for all the attributes you're selling? Who's going to do that? You're going to need like a super pivotal table. How about the PMS? PMS, highly fragmented industry, rigid, very old. So you make the booking, how is it going to fall down to the PMS? Who's going to read that? Who's going to do the automation? Who's going to, even loyalty is not automated at the PMS level. I see it impossible for attributes to go down to the PMS seamlessly. I mean, channel managers in the next stage, right? Channel managers push ARI to the distribution channels. They are not ready for attributes. I mean, we're struggling moving down to the PMS, a lot of information with today channel managers, and that's normal information. I don't even think about extras. Needless to say, distribution channels, they are not adapted either. So you can have a great PowerPoint presentation for ABS. Now you have to implement that in a different distribution channel. So how are you going to do it? Because customers will love it. I don't argue that. But where are you going to show all that information, right? And have you thought about the people making the checking? Hey, I mean, you asked for a duck feather pillow. I mean, let me find one for you. But sorry, but the 4th day of your stay, you don't have that because I ran out of them, right? So it is definitely, from an operation perspective, really complicated. Turnover in hotels is very high, especially seasonal hotels. So training people is a challenge. If you're going to increase the level of expertise in that people, is going to be impossible for many companies. So just having normal, let's say, receptionists is challenging. I can't even think about ABS, right? How about the cost? Okay, incremental revenue. Okay, let's assume that's real. To what expense? So IT stack, people, operations. So it's going to pay this. Is it going to be worth it? The US is highly concentrated. I can see Hilton, Marriott doing ABS, but independent hotels, unless the IT is highly commoditized, I don't see that happening in the short term, especially Europe or Latin America, where fragmentation is very, very high. So is ABS actually possible today? I don't think so. Today, I'm speaking 2024, May 23rd, right? Might happen in the future, but however, there are options to, let's say, bypass these challenges. But ABS from a theoretical perspective, I don't see it today. But you can actually have some, let's say, solutions, right? So you can hyper segment your room types and lean on the current IT stack, PMS, channel management, distribution channels, and hyper segment your rooms instead of selling standard, just differentiate standard and superior with some services or attributes and position those. And be creative with your rates. You can hyper segment your rates too, adding services such as pillow or early check-in or late checkout. Guarantee, of course, no asterisk here. And position them so consumers can compare a regular rate with this package, right? Because in the channel manager, you can control inventory, right? And from a distribution channel perspective, booking engine, you can facilitate the comparison, put in like a grid format to compare rates, compare pictures, compare services. I agree that having an eternal scroll is useless, but there are solutions. But that's a UX UI thing. So my point is, I don't think the industry is ready for ABS yet. It might be ready in the future, but certainly not today. And that's my 7-minute speech, Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
All yours, Carina.
As I understand, I think a few points of what Pablo has been highlighting is also going to be like part of your argument, Carina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree to disagree in the outcome of it. But yeah, perhaps a couple of things about myself. I've been also working in the industry for the past 25 years already, mainly in the areas of sales, distribution, revenue management, operations, in global positions. So a lot of topics were around optimization, automation as well. We founded the company GauVendi back in 2020 with my co-founder, and what we did, we changed the way inventory is being managed and sold for hospitality. So today I will give you an introduction on ABS, obviously, and a bit of the future pricing in the context of dynamic inventory, how that could perhaps work and solve it. So yeah, Anne-Marie, let's start. So about attribute-based selling. So yes, it comes from the airline industry and it unbundles the overall products and services into smaller components. These are then upsold again to the consumer during the booking process. And it made really the airlines a lot of more money to do so. But as Pablo said, why are we comparing against the airlines all the time? So why don't we look at retail, for example? They approached it in a complete different way because they went more towards personalization and modern retail tactics. And they're using a configurator, for example, as well as filter options to enable a personalized search. And for me, another good example why airline seats shouldn't be compared is that when you look at it from an experience point of view, because in the first place, what kind of an experience is an airline seat? A hotel room has many more emotional trigger points, and it's perceived completely different depending on when I'm traveling, why I'm traveling, how long, etc. So when you sit at a window or an aisle seat, you know exactly what to expect. But when you're staying in a hotel room, views will be different. You don't know if the room is actually in a quiet location, away from elevator, etc. So room experience have many more experience dimensions than an airline seat can ever have. And when you choose, for example, the different booking classes in the airline, economy, business class, first class, you know exactly what to expect. But when you book a room category, you have different experiences. If you're staying in the same category in the same hotel or in different hotels. So unless you stay in the same physical room, your experience will be different. And that's happening all the time. So why did we categorize? So because of obviously rise of online sales simplified our offering into fewer categories, and we had to reduce the complexity at the point of sale. And we clustered it into the minimum common denominator, the categories. And as a result, we commoditized actually our biggest asset. And today we're seeing this huge trend of personalization, and we have new technology out there. So my question is really, do we really need to categorize in order to manage our previous challenges? And because we categorize, we limit personalization. And this is the reason why we changed the way how we manage inventory. We call this dynamic inventory, which enables us the ability to position the same physical inventory differently for each target group, highlighting relevant features by target audience and distribute it across the various distribution channels with different prices, conditions, availability. So to explain you a bit the difference, a static inventory, like we have it, means physical room is fixed to one single category and it's priced, forecasted, sold, and clustered like that. But dynamic inventory decouples the physical room from a fixed category and allows you to sell the very same room in multiple and different ways for different price points and target groups. So today you have only price categories based on a fixed rate plan and its condition. But with dynamic inventory, you price room features, which then average to a room unit price, and which again average to a room category price, with an infinite number of price points for the same physical room. And when you, for example, look today at a hotel website, no matter when you travel, with whom you travel, and how long, you always get the same room categories offered. But if you want something particular, you have to call or send an email. With dynamic inventory, you are able to apply smarter sales tactics. And to do so, you need to actually replace a booking engine with a sales engine. And the sales engine is using dynamic inventory, and it's supported by artificial intelligence, and it delivers more relevant content, products, and services, and based on the amount of people traveling, when and how long they travel. And it also considers what we call this paradox of choice, because it only pushes through a set number of relevant products. When you look, for example, at Netflix, right? So they do suggestions and recommendations based on a user behavior. And a sales engine can do recommendations of the right products based on your selection using the configurator with a percentage match. And it immediately creates transparency for the booker in regards to what to expect. And another example, Coca-Cola, right? You may remember that they were having a campaign where they were selling the same Coke, but labeled the bottles with the people's name. So consumers were buying these Cokes just because of seeing their names. And you could do the same with a sales engine, because you can emotionalize the sale by giving your room specific names. Or Dom Perignon, for example, they're using labeling tactics to just justify a price point. And they sell, for example, these illuminated bottles for a much higher price point. And with hotel rooms, you could use labels such as lowest price, guest favorite, or our tip, because it helps to differentiate between the offering. And when you apply all these different sales tactics, it will make you guaranteed more money, because you're selling features that you could not sell before. It leads to higher guest satisfaction. It will give you a unique differentiator from your competition, drive more direct business, and it will enable you to make smarter and more relevant price points according to your booking context. So what it means for example, for the third-party distribution that you mentioned, Pablo, you have also the ability to apply different sales through third parties, as you can categorize your inventory differently per channel. And this way, you can gain back control over your distribution, and you're optimizing your sales per channel. And this dynamic approach, it manages really the inventory on a much granular level as the others. And you can it prevents the automatic overbooking of the room categories, and you can at the same time also sell the gaps. And it provides, therefore, for my revenue management heart, a lot of more valuable data points and analysis for the future strategies. And also for your room assignments, for example, it becomes much easier, because we can distinguish between reservations that can be moved, reservations that cannot be moved, and reservations that have not even been assigned. And the system automatically optimizes the room plan based on occupancy or revenue. And it becomes a real time saver for your staff. And because there is no standard guest, And as our friend from the galaxy Orion Nebula says, pricing, long embraced on Earth, was just the beginning. But dynamic pricing is the future, capturing the true essence of hospitality. So I'm looking forward to the discussion round afterwards. Thank you.
Well, then definitely it's gonna be great to follow through these two completely opposite points. At the end, from our side, from BEONx, we really want to define a little bit, and our presentation goes a little bit on defining the requirements so that this might be actually, as Pablo said, a profitable way of selling rooms, instead of just being another funny way of selling rooms. And that's our main concern at this moment. So let's go through it and get an idea. So let's go. Well, first of all, every time we talk about revenue management or revenue management systems, we need to think on always the four pillars of everything. So the right room at the right time for the right customer at the right price. And to get this back into attribute-based pricing, we need to have in consideration that this is nothing new, okay? So hotels have been selling sea view rooms for over 5 decades, and they differ the deluxe from the premium rooms afterwards. And then we started selling add-ons, and add-ons were quite a good thing for us to start, but prices were not dynamic. And now we want to go to attribute-based pricing. So what are the challenges for the hotel industry? Pablo mentioned it quite well. PMS-centric hotels that lack connectivity on anything that goes behind the room type and the rates. And also, the other big problem is regarding OTA-centric distribution, because you've got your website, you can be really good at your website, but afterwards you're going to have to put your hotels in Booking, and you've got to see how it's more sellable and how you can increase your sales, not only by room types, but also by the add-ons, okay? So what are the current solutions? We've already seen it, but you're going to see just a little bit more about it in this presentation. None of it is perfect, but let's see a little bit on this. First of all, we've got detailed room types. So that's what Pablo was speaking. That's a little bit on Carina's mind, but a little bit more developed. So on your left side, you've got one of our hotels in Booking.com. They've got so many room types that you can spend 20 minutes on scrolling. It will give us deluxe room with lift, balcony, all of this kind of configuration. It's really good because, well, we as a hotel RMS can optimize your price per room type and per rate code, but mainly for room type. So nowadays people are going to with variable supplements. An RMS can also help you on overbooking. So it's really good for you to actually get better results. Problems are also the difficulty of getting longer lists of room types, as we've seen in before. Booking engine optimization, things like Hotelverse, Mirai Twin is launching as well, and GauVendi. They at the end try putting it at a shopping mart. So you've got 3 or 4 points in which you can buy the product on the different points. What are the positives and negatives? Positives, it gives you more liberty. The problem is that it's just for your booking engine and it doesn't go back into OTAs, and that it's harder for you to define it if you don't have dynamic rates on these supplements and these add-ons. So at the end, what can we do and what do we need to make this a real profitable way of selling? First of all, we've got to focus on your revenue, okay? So we can define key features or key attributes that we want to sell. We've got to keep your cost profit analysis on the spot and on your pocket every day. Then we've got to establish a dynamic pricing strategy and see that we guaranteed connectivity, okay? So this is the 4 pillars of our strategy. First of all, we need to get data integration. if we've got add-ons or if we've got different room types, that information needs to come back to the revenue management system. We need to define automation because, as Pablo said, and as Carina said, nowadays we just can't live without automation. And we really need to focus on the exponential growth. So what is the path? The path for hotel, it's simple. We go back from room revenue back into a sustainable profit platform. That is our path, in which everything has got to do with connectivity. If you're good at one thing, at doing a great RMS, at doing a great booking engine, at doing a great revenue management system for F&B or for Parklix, you need to focus on that. And the goal is to have a connectivity platform that connects all these good apps and that receives all the information, all the add-ons, listing and inventory, all the room types of your hotel, all the meetings and meals that you're selling, get it all in one platform that, after all, will give you the best pricing, focusing on total revenue and not only on the room revenue on a specific room. That's a future view. That's not the real current one. And on that point, I agree with Pablo. Nowadays, everything is quite limited on a view to implement attribute-based pricing. But the goal for us in the next few years is to start thinking on these exponential profits. So first you think on revenue management, on rooms revenue management on your base room types. Then you're going to see the sales from the WhatsApp in which you're selling attributes directly through WhatsApp. Then you're going to think on F&B. Then you're going to think on everything as an attribute, because you're selling everything nowadays with this mindset. So attribute-based pricing will only be profitable and dynamic, because otherwise it's not optimized, with interconnectivity between apps. So the RMS needs to speak with the booking engine, with the business intelligence, with the PMS, with the CRS, with benchmark features, with all these ancillary sales. Everything needs to be connected with live inventories, with a platform that actually manages everything. Otherwise, it's going to be quite hard. While the future is bright for connected systems, increase your productivity with holistic platforms. Otherwise, we're still going to be stuck in the PMS-centered world, and that point is not going to be profitable for the future. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. Now let me see if I can get the final presentation up. I think if I just like, if I listen to you, I think I hear that there is like, okay, it might be possible, but technology is not there yet.
Yeah, I truly believe that at this moment, all the solutions that we see, including, for example, GauVendi's Mirai Twin, Hotelverse, in which we are partners as well, these solutions are giving us half of the way. We've done a long trip going back from fixed pricing and pricing levels in hospitality, in which you would run from 10 to 10 euros. Nowadays, we are on a completely different view, and that path has also got to go to this kind of attributes and to the sale of it. So only when we start getting dynamic prices back into attributes, we're really talking about attribute-based pricing being a success.
Well, Carina, imagine the question to you. How are we going to solve this? I think, yeah, you're quite right. We have come some way, but then I also do see some limitations. But let's first let you answer the question.
Well, we are live with our solutions and we don't have limitations. And yes, we do make profit for the hotels, because it's true profit, and that's what we were mentioning, Ricardo. We need to not just speak about the revenues we make, but it's the net profit that we need to get, and we do get it because we are able to sell these features and automatically manage that, and it's automatic pricing. And we work with the revenue management systems today. They're not directly connected to us. They're connected through the PMS, so they automate the pricing on the category level, and then we actually still make more revenue on the because we make a reverse pricing calculation and make more revenue on the upsell. So both works, and the most important thing is you need to be connected back to the PMS, so you can really handle that.
Yeah, well, Kars has a question about that, and I was also thinking about that when you were talking. Karst answer, that one of the participants, answers like when selling the rooms so specifically. So what you say, room 501, I think you had as an example. How do you prevent then long stay issues, or how do you still make sure that there's some kind of a flexibility for us to work with these room types?
So these questions are classical questions. You want to keep your flexibility. It's not that the example given 501 was an example. Obviously, the guest, contrary to other systems, will not get disclosed 501 unless you, as a hotel, want to tell them, hey, you're staying in the 501. So that's a strategy from the hotel. And hence, we, as I explained, and I do know it changes completely the mindset here to think differently. The system, we have, the classical Tetris, right? The system understands which rooms cannot be moved. It's like, your presidential suite, if someone books the presidential suite, it's blocked and you will not be able to move it. And that's the same with the others. They may take something like a view that can be exchanged, and therefore the system can move it. And then there may be features that cannot be moved. So the system understands it and you can optimize it. So in reality, you may have 10, 15, or 20% of rooms that inventory that cannot be moved, and the rest can be moved. So you don't get into such a situation, to be honest. Plus, we can sell the gaps in between as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so you just need to have more rooms with the same type of attributes in it. Is that your point?
Yeah, and it depends what imagine like you do today as well, right? As a salesperson, you also don't tell anyone every time the same story. It depends who's sitting opposite to you. And if I see you and you tell me, hey, I'm coming with my family, I sell you the very same room in a complete different way than if Pablo says, hey, I'm on a business trip, right? So I will highlight other stuff to him. And that's the capability. And that's capability also from an AI-powered inventory management, because that you cannot do this if you would do this in a category way, right? And you overwhelm the people with this topic of paradox of choice, right? Like Ricardo showed, yeah. 20, 30 lines, nobody will look until line 23. You lost them. One of the big reasons why we clustered in the first place the categories to be able to still sell on the GDSs.
Yeah, you're quite right. And then when you touch on the distribution part, it's like let's ask Pablo, because I mean, Pablo, you are the expert here on that field. What challenges do you see, or what possibilities maybe also attribute-based pricing might give us on the metas, or any?
Well, I think it's not that I'm against ideas at all. I think it is a great idea, and that's a trend, and I agree that's a trend. But from a hotel perspective, I think it's really, really difficult to buy that. We are today facing challenges just making pretty basic things, such as moving extras, such as any extra customer come by down to the PMS to the right ways. And we are putting those in the comments because the connection channel down to the PMS doesn't work. So, and that's pretty basic thing. We are also struggling with moving back and forth loyalty information, such as the ID, the number of points or bookings or room nights, back and forth to the PMS and from the PMS or the CRM. So it's like we are talking about science fiction concepts when we haven't covered the basics yet. It is like we want to run when we don't even know how to walk. That's my feeling, right? So because my day-to-day, even with big chains, it is these things that we are facing, and we are talking with the best channel managers, with the best PMS in the industry, and sometimes they don't have the basics. So when I'm just thinking how I would fix sending the room number or these services for these days, it's not going to work. It's going to be like sending an email. Somebody has to type all those things in the PMS, and it won't work. And I think that there are two different or many different types of hotels in the Caribbean or in the vacation resort. There are hotel with 3,000 units. So the guy running operations there is the king or the queen, right? So you don't dare setting something that is on their side, right? Because he or she is managing a city with 6,000 people living there. A guy in the commercial office in, I don't know, New York or Copenhagen, hey, I'm going to send an espresso machine for room 1106. So it's not going to work. So, I mean, taking all these concepts down to earth, to me, sounds really difficult. Of course, the different thing is a boutique hotel, 11-room hotel, boutique hotel in Amsterdam or Barcelona. That's easy. That's super easy, right? But to me, the challenge is just merging this concept of ABS with operations and just we're struggling with the basic things. That's my point. It's not that I don't like ABS. I do, but as a customer, not as a hotel.
Yeah, I must say I also like the idea very much, because I do see that there's a point in it. But then, I mean, from an operational point of view, isn't this something that operational managers already do? If they know that there is I'll come to you, Carina. But if they know that a certain guest has been at the hotel before and he wants to have a specific pillow, we just like we can arrange that. It's just like making sure. Is that also your point, Carina? I'm sorry, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I raised my hand because I want to contradict to the to this. Oh, this is something for boutique hotels, and this is not something for big hotels. And we're talking about espresso machines. I think there's a clear difference already, and that's obviously in these 20-second slides. It's very difficult to give all this information across. But you have rooms which are corner rooms. You have different lights. Every room is different. Even if you have a purpose-built hotel, you say everything is the same. Well, then you need to build differentiation in order to make more money. But there is a difference. If I'm looking out of the window from the 5th floor or from the ground floor, there's a different light. It's a difference whether I'm near the elevator, away from elevator. Let's not even talk about adding things, but really making money on what exists. And what we had to, obviously more for boutique hotels, but we had to consolidate in order to make it sellable in a digestible way. And that can be done. And obviously, it only works when you do this in an automated way. And I want to ask you again to think about the fact that if you manage your inventory on a category level, you don't know what's here. This is your room. This is your room, and this is the truth. Hence, when you try to make everything work here, you will never get down to the truth. And what we do is we manage it on a room's inventory. And yes, in building that kind of interface to the PMSs is absolutely different and it's much more complex. So you're totally right, Pablo. And to be honest, we are connected to modern cloud-based PMSs. We will not go down the route to the legacy PMSs. And I know this is being recorded, but we can't do that. That's
but I think that's the and I agree with you, and that's the solution I try to lay at the end of my presentation. That is, ABS should be done on the existing IT stack, which is hyper-segment your room types, hyper-segment your offers or your rates, so you can differentiate the services or the attributes on the existing channel manager or the RMS system, because you can handle inventory and it will work under the PMS. That's a partial solution. It doesn't solve the solution that the PMS, somebody has to move the information around because the extras or the attributes didn't fall in the right place. And I understand that there are a lot of cloud-based PMS, but the industry in general is dominated by legacy PMSs. And I mean, you know that, and they are really, really rigid. And the reason they don't change, there are several, right? I bought a license 25 years ago and I don't want to update it, or because changing the PMS is a nightmare. So to me, that's the real challenge. So we can do like tricks to go in the direction of ABS, but with existing solutions, IT solutions. Because if we're waiting for a new solution that will fix everything, I don't think it will work.
But, you know, it's almost like, yes, we know that the industry is pretty rigid. That's true. But to be honest, I do see a lot of movement, particularly in technology, because technology has moved so much over these past years. And I love to give that example, and I placed it also in the slide. I love my example because I think it makes it clear. Our technology, and when I was part of it in the 20s when we clustered more the categories and we started only to do interfaces, right? We are talking about more than 20 years back. You remember your Nokia 3220 or what it was, right? Try to connect to this mobile, please, an app. It will not work. And it's even worse. The PMSs are, you know, my ringing phone, and I try to connect an app. So I don't think you can insist, the hotels can insist, but at some stage, eventually, that entire technology will simply stop because it's not sustainable. Also for the providers, they need to move, they need to change. And I think that point has come already. And you see people moving and you see companies growing and others disappearing because they cannot stay like that if they don't move.
I agree with you there, Carina. What you see now is that the legacy PMSs, they are starting to go over to cloud-based, and then actually, I mean, they're just there with saying to their customers, okay, you need to change your property management system. And they might just like think like, okay, well, if I need to change it anyway, let's see where to go to. But I also agree with Pablo. Right now, I mean, there are a number of hotels still on legacy, and yeah, these systems are not built for these kinds of flexible thinking, maybe. But I agree with you, Carina. It's something that we can just like see in a very near future because it goes quite fast. But then if we go over to technology, and Ricardo, because I was thinking about this also when you were just like showing your presentation, I think from a revenue management perspective, a revenue management system perspective, I do not see any movement towards attribute-based pricing. I see a movement towards, well, maybe what you do, sustainability or total, or maybe even profits. We can also discuss if we are there already, but then from a revenue management perspective, do you think that that this is a possibility that you might just like go into in the future?
I think that it has to be one of the main issues, because at the end, if you want to maximize your revenue, you've got to adapt back into the ways that guests are buying. So if guests are buying in platforms like GauVendi or in Hotelverse, then we have to have that adaptability and to be able to connect also with those kind of systems. There is one big difference, and on our positioning as a company, is that we believe that this connectivity thing, it's going to be the future. The future, it's not going to be an RMS that does revenue management for hotels, then does the part of F&B, then does the part of meeting rooms, and then we'll do everything and won't be good at anything. We believe that we need to be good at managing rooms. We need to be good at connectivities. We need to be good at getting information from third parties that will give us more information for our system to develop and back into send them information. And if it is add-ons or any kind of feature that works more or less like that we end up selling, we need to have that connectivities as well. We need to establish those connectivities and afterwards send pricing propositions or recommendations back into each of these additional features that are being sold.
Yeah, and here you touch on a very good thing. I mean, connectivity right now is not really the best between all the systems. It's quite difficult to have like a very good two-way connectivity, and I understand it. Usually the two-way connectivity is built for a specific first question that asks for this connectivity, but they handle the inventory differently than maybe another person. So I think connectivity, as you say, yeah, it's a future, but it's one of the challenges.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the points. Let me just jump in on this because, well, I've spent till my last month and a half, I spent 20 years on hotels. So I've been listening for 20 years that there is a standardized way of connecting in hospitality. So there are 2 or 3 protocols that most of tech providers use, but at the end, once you go down the hill, even nowadays, new companies that are arriving are not using those kind of connectivity platforms or connectivity systems. So this is something that we really need to establish a standard in order for everybody to connect, because otherwise we're going to have the problems that Pablo is saying. Well, Pablo, I was working with a hotel that was working with Mirai for 1 year, and what Pablo is mentioning, it happened to everybody. So it happened to me. So I was really happy with Mirai, but afterwards the connectivity, when it got to my PMS, I just had some information, few informations that just wouldn't pass by unless they were by text, and that's absolutely unacceptable nowadays.
And can I say something, Andre?
Yeah. Please do.
Well, thanks for the comment and reference. To me, that's one of the problems, Ricardo, that is trying to standardize something that is difficult to standardize. To me, is the first problem. The industry is trying to make one size fits all solution, and it won't work because every region is different, has different players, different needs. Every hotel, leisure, business, corporate, MICE is different. And we're trying to use the same XML or JSON, and that's not going to work. And this is a overhead. We're trying to simplify, but at the same time, we are making things more complicated. And oh no, it's not in the standard, so put it in the comments. That's the thing. So we are trying to standardize everything. And I'm now in Mexico. I'm now trying to expand business now in Latin America. This region is completely different than the US and Europe. And you're trying to make, we have a one size fits all. Again, that's not going to work. So I think definitely the connectivity is a challenge. But to me, the problem is not even the IT. The problem is the highly fragmented business or industry we work with in the US, for instance, 75 or 78% of the rooms, I don't know the exact number, are under 10 brands, right? So they can standardize because they control everything. But in Europe, that's the other way around. Only 30% or 35% of the rooms are under brands. And the brands are, we think they're big brands, but actually they're small brands. I mean, having 400 hotels is a small chain. I mean, you need 9,000 properties to have a large chain. And so we think, the Spanish chains, the French chains, except Accor, they are big. They are not big. Having 80 hotels, you're still small. So you need a critical mass or volume, and then you can do ABS, you can do lots of things. But even the big guys, they're having a lot of problems, right? So of course, I love the idea of ABS as a customer. And I think that's the trend, and we are walking in that direction. I completely agree with you guys. My point is it's going to be much slower when we think, except few hotels that can do it because they are very savvy, they have the money, it's their hotel, and they can change everything. But for the average random hotel anywhere in the world, I think this is still science fiction because they haven't solved payment problems. They haven't solved operation problems. They haven't solved the loyalty problems, things that they should have solved 10 years ago, and they're still fixing them. And then we have ABS. So this is why I call this in a buzzword, because it's like, okay, everybody reads about it and Joe is reading it, but then they go back to the day-to-day business, and they have a chargeback from a guy who just stayed at the hotel and did the chargeback. And they, okay, how can I complete? What can I do about this? And then no, ABS, no, I have a payment problem. Payment's a huge pain point for hotels, and it has a solution, but many hotels haven't found it yet. So my point is, it's just a time thing. It's not this economic thing. It's a timing thing.
It's a timing thing, but we're live, and we're live with 60 plus hotels. So and it works and it automates. So yes, you may be right, but the good thing is in this case, and I actually, I've been always representing the independent hotels in my previous positions, and this is the opportunity actually where we can be quicker. These smaller chains, these smaller groups, us, the boutique individual hotels, can be quicker than the chains, because the chains don't move quick. They can set up standards, but they don't move quick. And you know, my heart being for the independent, I'm so happy that we can actually offer that solution. Yes, you need to change your technology. You need to be in a cloud base. You need to move. But that's, as I said, if you stuck with a PMS from the, like my children say, the olden days, then obviously you can't. But we are live and we have proven results, and it works, and it makes automation, and all the problems that you were mentioning, these are gone. These are exactly the problems we knew. That's why I'm in hospitality, and you cannot do that unless you automate it. And it's not with a notes, it's a fixed, and it's automated new solutions. And it opens up actually new, we have done new products actually that we didn't think about. We didn't think about when we reinvented inventory in a new way and placed it on a more granular way, so sitting on top of a PMS. We did not think about the fact that we also automatically solved the issue of category overbooking, right? How often do you get category overbooking? We get a booking for 4 nights for the deluxe room, but we actually have only 2 nights in this room and another 2 nights in the other. And we can do and shift and shovel around, but we can't move it anymore. So what we do, we upgrade. These problems are solved when you manage inventory on a more granular level. And I know it sounds, oh my God, why did nobody think about it? But yes, as I said, the solution is on a room level, to understand the room level, and you can always go up again to category. But this is where you can feedback on a category level. Hey, listen, you cannot sell anymore 4 nights in a row. You can only sell 3 nights in a row, and you can push that back into the OTAs, etc., etc. Obviously, you may not sell as personalized as you can sell direct, but I'm wondering, is that our intention? Finally, with my direct sales, I can really hyper personalize. I can have a clear differentiator, and that is my power. What is my power? Best price guarantee. I can't hear it anymore since 20 years. Best price guarantee on my website. Not enough arguments. Look at booking.com. This is not about a nice booking solution, but it's a very good functional solution. I go and I find it and I book it. And just because you tell me best price guarantee or lowest price doesn't make me change. But suddenly, if I can have my sunset view, if I can have my corner room, if I can have my room away from elevator, this is a good argument, because now I get more than I could ever get on a third party. And that may make me think. And I think it's time for the independent to really stand up and be quicker than the chains can ever be, and be quicker than the OTAs. Because I tell you, like you said, the OTAs are doing it and they don't bloody care whether the booking, whether you can actually manage the high floor that they guarantee and even charge. If you get it as a note, you may have a super receptionist who looked at every note and makes it possible, but the majority can't, right? So I think that it is the time now to make that change and be quicker.
Thank you. Just in the meantime, there are 2 people, participants raising hands. Would you please be able to put your questions in the Q&A so we can handle them? Thank you. I just, you know, what I was also thinking about. Yeah, okay, I do see things that might be challenging, but then if you don't have a disruptor like GauVendi, nothing will happen either. Let's wait for people. Thank you so much, Carina, and I really love this discussion. But I also have. I'm sorry. I'm sticking with you, because when you say that there's a dynamic inventory, yeah, you had an example of the how you can handle that in the OTAs, and what I understand is actually you want to have like a limited amount of room types on the OTAs. Is that your point? So how do you choose them?
Yeah. So OTAs, and so it's a matter of who can handle what, right? So the OTAs, and everyone manages inventory in categories. So you need to translate that back. But let's say, give you an example. As you're now free to define your categories for per distribution channel, and I'm sure everyone of who's in distribution, when you set your categories, you think like, ah, shit, I would have loved another category. Or you say, if I could. So now think about that, right? if you now can set your categories per channel and you say, whatever, for HRS, very simple, I can only handle single and double. Well, you take the set that fits most and you create your set of single and double categories and you push that through. For Booking.com, another example, you always get bad reviews if someone books in the standard category and gets into one of these rooms that are not suitable for them. It's to the street or whatever. You take it out.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. So you can set differentiated. Yes, it's category, but you can control it. You don't have to give everything to everyone in the same way.
Well, I mean, if you don't, you get into a discussion like, okay, well, we have this with HRS, single or double, as they only handle two room types. We always get into the discussion like, okay, you don't hold rate parity.
No, what about rate parity? So one thing is what kind of prices you place, but how much inventory you give. You don't have to have rate parity in regards to when you're closing. We're beyond that in Europe. US is a different market, and they're still on rate parity, right? But give you another example. You have Airbnb. You have two apartments, one on top of each other, and actually it's half of a house, right? You can take both of these apartments that you may sell in a category apartments, you take them together and you sell them as a house at Airbnb. That's what I mean in regards to flexibility. You puzzle with your inventory as you want. And yes, you need to feed it back to what an OTA can digest, but you make it more strategically suitable to your selling. And in a resort, classical resort, right, you also sell various times to your tour operators your inventory, right? And you make sure, oh, the Germans are here, the French are here, and the English are here. You don't put them all together, and that's almost the same, right? But in a different context. So, which makes much more fun for us in the industry. That's how we like to sell, and this is how we do it when we. That's the disconnect between the salesperson and then the distribution to make that possible. Now you don't have a disconnect anymore.
Thank you. Love the way you speak, Carina. And we are almost at the end of the webinar, and I did have a question for Ricardo, because I mean, it might not be that much into attribute-based pricing, but it is my biggest question about just like the total and profit revenue management that you also touched base upon. And that has a lot to do with the connectivity, I think, also. But what do you see? When do you see revenue managers going into really total revenue management? And I mean then a revenue manager that handles room rates the way rooms the way you handle, that applies revenue management on rooms the way you do, and on conferences the way you do, because that's a whole different way of managing revenue management. And then you have F&B and try to make that into a whole. When do you think people are going to work like that?
Well, I do believe that nowadays it has been one of the main concerns in revenue management systems. Now, I'm speaking on BEONx, but also our competitors have been working a lot on that, on increasing room revenue for meeting rooms and for meeting rooms, for groups of on meeting rooms, and room revenue and ancillary. So this is something that we are working nowadays. So this is something that should be ready still out through this year with really good solutions on improving room revenue at that level. But also meeting rooms, F&B. I think that at the end, it's a little bit on what I've mentioned a little while ago, that all this needs to be done by specialists, okay? And revenue management systems have been here, and if you're good at doing revenue management for the tech stack that you've got on hotels, it's not exactly the same one that you're gonna do if you wanna do restaurants, okay? So at the end, it goes back into everything that I've spoken again, so it goes back into connectivity. Revenue managers will only be able to effectively maximize F&B, meeting rooms, room revenue, parking, sunbeds if they like, at the moment that they can get data to be manageable and to be able to be managed by a system that actually it's a specialist system in a specific area. For example, that's our vision to the future. Again, it's a connectivity platform in which you can manage everything, and you can be managing companies that don't really match. For example, we're not part of Dynamite, but we have a connectivity with Dynamite. We've got a connectivity with Parklick, and the goal is for all this information and all these companies start working together, so that one revenue manager gets in one platform and has access to manage everything back in his revenue stream. So I think that this is something that it's going to be the future, and the immediate future. You're talking about 2, 3, 4 years. Some systems will start getting this kind of information.
Yeah, you know what? I was in a meeting with a procurement company and a credit card company, which actually is like, okay, the procurement is into the cost of everything, food cost, handling that. And you have the credit card company, which is like a huge challenge for us, because we don't really get any information from the credit cards that we can just like adapt to customers, which for us actually is a limitation if we want to apply total revenue management. And I ask, who do you talk to? Well, not to revenue managers. We talk to CTOs and the likes of that. And I think, well, talk about just like having to break silos. I think that's also something that we need to look into. It's not only revenue managers that are involved in profit management.
No, at the end, it's the entire structure. And once you get a platform that manages to, or one or many, for example, some PMSs are doing it quite well with their marketplaces as well. So let's put up into Muse that it's the industry unicorn. So they are working on trying to be quick and agile on getting all those kind of integrations back into one system, and try to make it as profitable as all. So it's going to be the capacity that we've got to manage everything in one space. That's going to be the future for us.
Yeah, I think we've been talking a lot about future today. Thank you so much for your insights. My takeaway is that, okay, we're getting somewhere, but 2024, we're not there yet. So I think, well, it's the end of today, and it's already the end of the webinar. Let's see if on the final slide, maybe one of us, any of the speakers have anything more to add. But I'd like to just like close off, maybe with also talking about what we're going to talk about next time. So on the 22nd of August, topic of that webinar will be about digital marketing for hotels, some best practices. We've invited speakers from Sendine, Clock PMS and Tacticon, and some more to come as well. Regarding this webinar, we will send you the recording as soon as possible. We just need to edit it. Now for the participants from the Benelux, we return to The Hague, Brussels and Amsterdam with our Revenue Forum seminars on the 4th to the 6th of June. A Revenue Forum seminar currently runs in 12 cities and 10 countries, and it's for hoteliers that want to spend a half a day of inspiration and networking. This is a free of charge seminar to attend, and even though it's free of charge, no sales pitches allowed. You can find all the information about our seminars and webinars on our website, revenueforum.net. And this is one of the most exciting things that we do. This is really like a unique event. It's held simultaneously right now in 3 cities, and more to come, I can tell you. There's a lot of things that we are going to do with this Global Revenue Forum. I'll tell you maybe more about that in our next webinar, but so far I'll just like stick to the fact that we're going to hold the next one on the 30th of January 2025. And it's, as said, unique. It's a hybrid event. It held simultaneously in Stockholm, London and Milan, and we stream the most important parts to each other's live and to our online platform. For those who cannot join any of the cities, you can always follow us live online. Those who are able to come to Stockholm, I can tell you, well, book very, very quickly, because right now we have a book very early deal available for you. In Swedish kronor is 1,500. If you want to just direct it into euros, is about 135 euros. It's a full day of inspiration, and it's never been cheaper to book. And that was just like the end of the webinar. Hope to meet you on our next webinar, or in one of the seminars or events we organize. Thank you very much to our speakers. Really good input. Thank you. We always love that. Thank you mostly to our speakers, Pablo Delgado, Carina Stegmayer, and Ricardo Serena. You've been inspiring. Thank you as well to my colleague Johanna Aline, who could not join us, but she takes care of all the practical details. Thank you all participants for listening. And some final words, maybe if you want to, Pablo, Carina, and Ricardo. Putting you on the spot.
Well, I think we said pretty much everything. I have just a final word that we all agree that this is the trend and the technology will be found and connected. But let's remember, don't forget that we need to change hotels, and that's changing people. Changing people is probably the most difficult part of our business. So we may have a solution, but we have the hotels to use it. Yeah. And that sounds easy, but it is not.
No, and maybe Carina, GauVendi might be one of the solutions.
Yeah, and I'm a positive thinker, and I think there is a new generation of people in hospitality who really want to drive change. And I think the future is now. We have dynamic inventory, and we will be able to exactly create these great experiences that we have when the guest comes on site. So I'm very positive that it will be quicker than you think. So we're getting there.
And Ricardo, you're into sustainable revenue management. I mean, talk about that. We're going to move in a lot of different directions. You have not been able to talk about it here, but BEONx is the disruptor in that to that extent, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there are a lot of ways on what we can see the future. We can see it in attribute pricing. We can see it on managing different kind of inventories and different kind of revenue streams. But we also need to think on our own sustainability. Not only, as I usually say, it's not only planting trees, it's also on guaranteeing that our business remains as sustainable as possible, and that all our hotels and all our affiliated hotels manage to keep increasing their profitability together and in a steady way.
Thank you so much. As said, thank you a lot to the participants and your enthusiasm and your comments on the chat and Q&A, and hope to see you next time as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.